Well, hello, everyone. My name is Darren, and I'm one of the marketing coordinators with the School of Health Sciences at BCIT. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to this online information session for the Cardiovascular Perfusion program. First off, I just want to say how happy we are to see you all today. Thank you for attending our presentation. Feel free to post any questions or comments that you have into the chat during the presentation, and we'll do as best we can to answer them all at the end of the presentation in the Q&A segment. And just before we get going, the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Today's agenda is welcome and introductions. We'll go through the presentation and program overviews. We'll get some information on program advising, and then we'll have questions and answers at the end. And just before I introduce our presenter for today, I'm going to bring up a quick poll, just one question for everyone to answer so we can see where everyone's at. Now, hopefully everyone can see the poll right now. It says, how many perfusionists are there in Canada? Is the answer 100, 300, 500, or 750? And now I would like to introduce Tammy Riley, the program head for the Cardiovascular Perfusion program. And how did we do on the poll, Tammy?
Well, it looks like 50% of our attendees are accurate. There are roughly 300 perfusionists across Canada, a very small profession and niche profession. Well done, everyone. So what is cardiovascular perfusion? It is the mechanical support of the heart and lungs during open heart surgery. The heart-lung machine that the clinical perfusionist operates replaces the respiratory and circulatory system while the heart is arrested during cardiac surgery. A perfusionist is an integral member of the cardiovascular surgical team, and their role is to operate the heart-lung machine. They are responsible for regulating and monitoring blood flow and the administration of blood products and drugs to maintain the physiological state of the body during surgery. Outside of the OR, perfusionists manage and troubleshoot ventricular assist devices, or maybe what you've heard called VADs, and are also highly involved with ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. VAD and ECMO systems are used to support patients who are in cardiac or respiratory failure. Perfusionists are a member of a highly specialized cardiac team and are autonomous in their roles. So is perfusion for you? Prospective students must be prepared to deliver acute level care, function well in high stress, fast-paced environments. Attention to detail, the ability to multitask, and troubleshoot mechanical issues are also typical attributes of a perfusionist. Although there is some autonomy in their job, they are working as part of an interprofessional perioperative team. So excellent communication skills are paramount to ensure patient outcomes are not compromised. Physical and mental stamina are also important, as perfusionists work long hours in high acuity settings and are expected to be on call in case of emergencies. All applicants applying to the program must have a Bachelor of Science degree, and preference is given to those who have a focus on human sciences. There are two options for applying for the program, which will be discussed a little bit further on, but option one is available to respiratory therapists or critical care nurses with a minimum of 2 years work experience in high acuity direct patient care settings. The program itself is 22 months in length, and you earn an advanced certificate in cardiovascular perfusion. The first year is an online blended or hybrid learning environment, and it consists of 3 15-week theory terms that integrate both synchronous and asynchronous learning. The majority of the program is delivered asynchronously, which means that students study independently and engage in learning activities at a self-paced rate. This does require initiative and some self-discipline, I will be honest. There are synchronous or real-time virtual interactions as well, and learning activities interspersed among the various courses in which you get to interact with your peers and instructors. One of the advantages of this program design is really the flexibility it offers to our learners. There are 2 mandatory 1-week simulated labs that occur during the first didactic year, and these provide the students an opportunity to apply theory to practice, helping to really contextualize fundamental knowledge and those foundational hands-on skills. The second year commences with an intensive 5-week simulation lab, and it is held out at the aerospace campus prior to being immersed into a final full-time year of clinical rotations within the cardiac centers across Western Canada. Within BC, we have 5 cardiac centers, 3 of which are located in the Lower Mainland, and BCIT is affiliated with 2 centers in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and 1 in Manitoba. Students from out of province are placed within the affiliated provincial centers. The program does expect students to be really focused on their studies and committed to developing the requisite knowledge and hands-on skills required to reach entry-level expectations. It is a rigorous program, but it does allow some flexibility in the first year to work part-time and, as I mentioned, study at a self-paced rate. So students who graduate from the program are eligible to write the Canadian and the American board exams, which provide employment opportunities nationally and internationally. Starting wages in Canada, or pardon me, in BC are approximately $56 per hour, and there are some signing bonuses that can be found across Canada. I do encourage you to visit the Canadian Society of Clinical Perfusion homepage, which is linked right here on this slide for more information about career and job prospects. Thanks so much. Over to you, Darren. All
Thank you,
good.
Tammy. That was great. I'm just going to read a quick testimonial. And it says, BCIT Perfusion gave me the expert knowledge and hands-on experience necessary to thrive in the fast-paced and high-stress environment of cardiac surgery, organ transplantation, and critical care. And that's from Michael Hildebrandt, a perfusionist and alumni of BCIT. So thank you for that. Thanks for sharing, Michael. So now I'm just going to provide a quick overview of the application and admissions process. And as you can see, the start date of the program is September 2024, and the application period opened on October 1st and will be open until February 28th, 2024. And the admission is highly competitive. 2022, BCIT admitted 1 in 6 applicants, and successful applicants exceed the entrance requirements. They also showed a clear understanding of the profession and had experience working in a high-stress environment. Filling out the online application is relatively straightforward. Once the application opens for each cycle, you can log in and review the online application. You can work on filling out the application at your own pace, and it does not go to admissions until you pay the application fee. The date you apply does not have an impact on your application. You have until the application deadline date to submit your application. And regarding the application process, you'll first review all the entrance requirements and the application processing dates. You will then upgrade if necessary, and BCIT does offer upgrading courses in many subjects, and program advising can assist you with that. Ensure that when you apply online, that you have all your required documents, such as transcripts, ready to scan and upload as PDF files. BCIT.ca/admission will guide you through the step-by-step application process. And once you are ready to apply online, you can visit bcit.ca/apply. And the domestic fee for the application is currently $90 Canadian. And the application process takes place entirely online. Therefore, you will need to convert your official transcripts and any additional documents that may be required into PDF files. Now let's review the requirements. The required entrance requirements are English Studies 12 at 73%, bachelor's degree along with card 1187, which is introductory statistics for health, and Option 1 is 2 years of current work experience as a certified respiratory therapist or critical care registered nurse. Or option 2, the completion of the following: 6 credits of 100 level chemistry, 6 credits of 100 level physics, BHSC 1200, human anatomy and physiology or equivalent, CARD 1103, which is medical terminology or equivalent, and CARD 1186, patient care for allied health. There is a CASPER test, which is online, mandatory applicant questionnaire, and additional forms. But the preferred requirements and preference will be given to applications with post-secondary education with a focus on human anatomy and physiology and/or health, a strong and consistent academic performance, recent and sustained work or volunteer experience involving direct patient care, ideally in acute care, demonstration of a clear understanding of the profession and the program, and excellent communication skills. The admissions process. Admissions will first assess online applications within 2 to 4 weeks. The applications that are complete are sent to the department. The department shortlists and selects applicants after the application deadline date, and then admissions sends acceptance letters to those. And the commitment fee is $500. Now, just momentarily moving from the academics, I would like to let you know that BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense, and we want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. And some student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available once you become an enrolled student. And here are some important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT's awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards page. And I would like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award, and selection is based on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. You can contact financial aid directly to find out more about that. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. Actually, if you've been accepted to a program and you believe you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. BCIT's Student Health Services is a health clinic located on the Burnaby campus, and they provide medical care for current BCIT students year-round. We also have a Counseling and Student Development Department, and it's available to help you enhance your educational performance and maximize your success as a student at BCIT. And our Recreation Services promotes, encourages, and enables the practice of physical well-being. And we consider recreation an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy their services. And they have just opened up a new climbing wall, so that would be exciting to check out if you're into that. Additionally, please don't hesitate to contact program advising if you have a question or unsure of something. They can answer questions regarding entrance requirements, the application process, student resources, success strategies, program schedules, and many others. They're available to assist you on specific days via telephone, email, or in person, or virtual appointments. So please go to the webpage, bcit.ca/advising, for their most up-to-date contact information and service hours. And if your inquiry is time sensitive, please call during the telephone advising hours, and this is the best option to get your questions answered quickly. Also, it would be nice if you would connect with us on our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Pick your favorite, and we'd love to hear from you. And you can also learn a lot more at the bcit.ca website. You can get information on tours of the Burnaby campus, spend a day to be a student for a day, information about Big Info, which is a couple of times a year, so you can find out about all the programs, info sessions like this one, and of course, advising to get answers from a program advisor. That is always a great resource. And thank you for your time. And that brings us to the questions and answers. Well, I've been a little distracted and not keeping my eye on the chat, but it looks like Jesse has been doing a lot. So thank you, Jesse. Is there anything that is outstanding or anything you'd like to mention?
So there was a question I forwarded to Tammy to respond to with respect to United States wages associated with the program.
I know that the wages down in the US are higher than Canadian wages, and I am aware that they do provide quite lucrative signing bonuses, but I don't know specifics. Maybe the American Society, or checking out the American board. Just let me find out. I will Google it and put it into the chat, because there may be some more information there. They have the similar society that the Canadian has, but it's obviously American. I will see if I can find it and post it in the chat.
Just while Tammy's looking that up, Mandana asked a question similar with respect to transfer of license for use in the United States. And so that I think that's likely something that would need to be researched, similar to Tammy providing a link to the US counterpart. It'd be a matter of researching and finding out what the options are for transferring to the United States. Unless Tammy happens to know off the top of her head the process specific to that.
I don't know the specific process, but I do know that there have been a couple of our previous students who are currently working in the US. So I think because there is a demand, I think globally for perfusionists, there are headhunters seeking graduates from the perfusion program. Did that answer the question?
I think that there's processes set up to transition someone into the United States as well as other countries. There'll just be different steps, I'm sure, for each country to become certified for their body. An additional question that I was looking for details behind the scenes to try and add to the chat. The option 1 applicants is the experience is strictly associated with respiratory therapy and critical care nursing, or I believe there might be a few other areas that the department will consider, if I'm not mistaken, Tammy?
Yeah, I think we're kind of broadening our horizons a little bit, but nothing official has been posted. But as long as you have direct patient care in a high acuity setting, even, we say critical care nurses, but there's emergency nursing, specialty care nursing. There's a whole bunch of facets of nursing that we will look at. Paramedics also work in high stress, high fast-paced environments as well. So if those individuals have degrees, I would definitely recommend applying to the program as well.
Before I try and respond to a question from Kyron, Jason was asking, what's the most challenging part of working as a perfusionist?
Well, I personally am not a perfusionist, but from what I hear among my team, I think it's just the long hours and, that fast pace of the perioperative setting and working like in that cardiac setting is, I think, quite stressful because patients are undergoing obviously open heart surgery, the heart is completely arrested or stopped. So I think it's just, that in itself provides, I think, is concerning for some perfusionists, or it can be a bit stressful.
And I'm just trying to respond to Kyron by typing a response, but for classes such as medical terminology, where a program syllabus may need to be reviewed to confirm its equivalency, I have addressed a previous inquiry earlier up in the chat to suggest that send those course syllabi to us in BCIT program advising. So program_advising at bcit.ca. And we will then direct it as appropriate to consult Tammy or others to clarify whether those are equivalent and valid courses, where we may not address the equivalency on the website directly. And you can proceed to do that prior to applying to the program. How many applications do you typically get per year? And are there any interviews involved in the admissions process?
So we do interview, and we do a spatial testing exercise as well. And we typically, it's about, I want to say around 65 to 70 applicants per year. And we take 5 BC students annually. And alternating years. We do 2 Alberta, 2 Saskatchewan, and 1 Manitoba. We do have 1 Saskatchewan seat that I would like to advertise here, that they have asked us to train a Saskatchewan resident this year, which is outside of our normal Saskatchewan seats.
I've also got a question specific to an individual that lives in Ontario, for Danny, and his chance of acceptance, being an out-of-province applicant, even though he has family living in BC. So I don't know if it would be necessary to clarify if the plan would be to move and live with the family in BC, if that provides a better opportunity.
Yeah, so we typically do not take students from Ontario. We're mandated by our BC government. So as I mentioned, currently we do 5 BC, 2 Saskatchewan, Alberta, and 1 Manitoba. So I don't know specifically the requirements. I think it's 1 year living in BC to be a confirmed BC resident. I'm not unsure, Jesse.
I think that's typically what's expected, and so there'd be the potential of requiring proof of utilities bills or other, cellular bills, automotive insurance, to provide proof of that. So it might be a necessary step to relocate to BC and potentially live with the family, to be able to make an applicant acceptable to the program. As I just read another question here. So with respect to missing requirements, and having to complete those courses, there should be opportunities for certain courses to be completed at BCIT. I believe we have a valid medical terminology course to be able to attend, but it could delay the application process for someone that is going through the process of upgrading. So I'd recommend to connect with us in program advising just to draw out that question a little bit further, and we can provide some more directions specific to the scenario for Regan. As well, another question maybe for Tammy, from Anna: would clinical research coordinators in cardiology be okay to apply for the program? They have a Bachelor of Science and a Master's of Science in Biomedical Applications, or CP, more something to pursue after completing the nursing program?
Let me see if I can find that question. As
So I
long
think
as you have direct patient care, essentially, that your job, or you find volunteer hours somehow where you are interacting directly with patients, then yes, absolutely.
and just making sure that the applicant has accommodated all the academic requirements outlined.
Yeah.
They happen to be an option 2 applicant. Do perfusionists typically work in a team, or are they more commonly working on their own, or some combination?
Yeah, it's a combination. They're definitely autonomous while they're running the heart-lung machine, but they're part of an interprofessional team, that perioperative surgical team. So there's a lot of interaction among the perioperative nurses and, of course, the cardiac surgeon and anesthesiologist with the perfusionists. So those communication skills are a big piece. But again, because of the niche aspect of the profession, they are definitely running the heart-lung machine autonomously.
Another one for you, Tammy. If one were to have direct patient care experience that isn't at the level BCIT would prefer, such as physical therapist assistant, would they still have the potential to satisfy the requirements for the patient care course, the CARD 1196?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the amount of interaction with the patients, and if you're helping to transfer patients or working directly with the patients, then that would qualify as that CARD 1186. It's about transferring of patients and just being able to interact directly with them. So I would say it would probably be more of a letter, maybe a work experience letter that could detail the level of direct patient care that a physical therapist assistant is providing.
Primarily making sure that it's not a primary administrative role, I suppose, more
exactly. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Jesse.
As well, from Jason, if an applicant comes from Alberta, what are their odds that they would be placed for a practicum in Alberta?
100%. So the only students, the Saskatchewan and Manitoba students rotate between Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Otherwise, the Alberta students remain in Alberta.
Another broad question from Anna. How do you see the cardiovascular perfusion field growing in the future, such as the scope of care associated?
I think that's a big topic of discussion right now. So there are some more advanced practices, I believe, coming down the road. There will be a college or licensure happening. So I don't know where their scope of practice will land within that. But definitely, I think it's exciting times for perfusionists as their scope, I think, is starting to broaden a little bit. But I can't speak directly to what those changes might be, but more advanced practices for sure outside of the operating room.
I just responded to another question to Amen directly by typing a response in the chat. So take a look at that, Amen. I'm just going to have you email us and we'll try and provide you more details specific to the application stats for the program. Another question from Oman is there an equivalent card 1186 at other universities that a student might have completed? I suspect that, Tammy, we've directed course syllabi to you for assessment and feedback in the past. So I'm sure that there are courses that could be equivalent to that. And it'd just be a matter of assessing those on an individual basis.
Yeah.
I've got another individual that graduated from their pharmacology degree 15 years ago, worked in railway, entirely unrelated to the education and science, but was fast-paced and high stress as a locomotive engineer. Would there be a time limit for BCIT accepting past transcripts or completed studies?
There aren't time limits for education, but of course that, 5-year recency is, I wouldn't say preferred, but I think 15 years ago is a while back. So maybe upgrading some of the courses and ensuring that within that degree that you've earned, that you have all of the prerequisite courses listed on the entrance requirements. Is that kind of the right answer, Jesse?
Yeah, I think the vast majority, there were some of our healthcare programs that did outline a formal requirement specific to particular requirements that placed a recency associated with them. So nursing, as an example, does still require a 3-year recency for their anatomy and physiology credit-based requirement. But the vast majority of our programs, at the most, they may still reference it as a competitive preference. So be one of the many components for through the selection process and the competitive process that the department reviews when selecting applicants that they may consider.
Yeah, definitely. Because I agree, locomotive, I'm sure would be high stress, high fast-paced environment. But I know, speaking from my own personal experience and going back to school as an adult learner, it's a little bit of a shock to the system. So I think just upgrading and making sure you have the prerequisite courses and some human physiology and anatomy courses would be helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Active and recent studies is also always going to be helpful to prepare someone for success in the programs at BCIT. So I apologize, I was reading as you're last responding. I just wanted to comment that Anna looks like she's followed up just to state that she does have some direct patient care experience as a result of her position. So that's just a comment for previous. And response further from Anna, just with respect to the last response. And thank you, Darren, for referencing that a copy of the slide presentation and link to the info session would be sent out to those that are registered for the session. I think that may be all of the questions that I could see listed presently. But this session, the recording of the session should also be added to the website in the future as well. So that may take a few more weeks before it's up on the website. And certainly feel free to reach out to us in program advising as well as the department directly. Darren, I don't know if you have any closing statements for the session, if there's no more questions.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tammy and Jesse, for all your excellent information, and everyone for their great questions. Yeah, I got a couple more minutes if you want to enter them. But if not, you can always contact program advising if you have admissions type questions, or perfusion@bcit.ca if you have the program specific questions. Maybe they're a little more personal, you don't want to add them in the chat. So please check out those email addresses. And if there is nothing further coming in, we can all get a little bit of time back for our lunch hour. And I want to thank you all for being with us today, and we wish you all the best in your future in health sciences. Did one come in?
Yeah, it looks like Anna was just quickly asking.
Okay.
She'd love to know if there's a way to connect with current or alumni students or graduates with respect to what it's like working in the profession. So I'm not sure, Tammy, if you're aware, does your program, I'm not sure that your program falls within the spend a day option?
No, I don't think so, but there is a BCIT LinkedIn account, I believe, for perfusion that our clinical instructor has started. So that might be a really good resource, I think, to connect with perfusionists, previous graduates and alum from the current program, and to learn more. And I do encourage you to reach out to some of the perfusion departments to learn more. Some of the perfusionists and supervisors are happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah,
and
thank you,
thank you
Tammy.
as well.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you all for being
everyone.
with us. Have a great rest of your day.